Hi guys, so welcome to our latest video. I've been meaning to do this one for a while, so this is to show you how you can get the most out of putting your transaction history into the data file. So first off, you'll need to email Football Index customer support and ask for your transaction history. And basically what they'll send you is this Excel file which looks very similar to this. Now, it's important to note that they've quite frequently changed the format of this, which is why I've often said send it to me to input it. But I'm going to talk you through how you can do it yourselves. And there's just a few things to check. Mainly that anything that is sort of a purchase is going down as a negative in this amount column. And anything where you're sort of depositing money is coming up as a positive. This just means that the formulas are going to work in the right way, because otherwise it'll invert everything and you'll end up with the wrong money in the wrong places. Secondly is just to check these columns are all here. So have you got transaction date, a type, name of the player, price, etc. It's important to note that this file won't work with trackers, because you'll buy a tracker on a certain day and I don't keep hold of every single date of every tracker to know exactly what players were in that top 100 or top 200 tracker that you purchased. So this will work for everything except for your trackers, and they'll be excluded effectively. So what you want to do is basically come over to the master file, into the transactions tab, and you simply want to make sure that you're copying over the data as is. So have a look and say, right, actually, okay, so transaction date, type, name, price, volume, amount, those columns are all in the right order, so they haven't changed the format. So I can just copy it across like such. And in we go. So there we go. So that's stuck it in there. And now what that's done is that will have instantly auto-populated over in the summary tab. If we come all the way over to the far right, we should see some players here. So we've got Aaron Ramsey's got some values in here. So all of this will automatically update. And then what that means you can do is you can then very quickly filter on your profit and loss column to exclude the zeros. Now, this will also exclude any players that you've bought like today, because they will have a zero value, because effectively you won't have any dividends. They probably won't have changed much in value in day. So you might have to go back in and add in a couple of extra ones, but this is a quick way to have a look at the high level profit or loss and dividends and everything else. You can see I then copy down these player names and then just stick them into the Your Portfolio tab. So, you know, make sure everything in these two columns is deleted first, and then just go back into the summary tab, copy down those names, come back into your portfolio tab, stick them in column A. Now that populates the costs will automatically pull through based on those names. Now the last thing you do here is you want to come up with some categories. Now you can use the categories I've got here. I think they're generally a pretty good category, or you can create your own. So say if you don't want something called a quick flip, say if you want only Chelsea players or something like that, you can have a look at typing that in, and then you can create your own lookup in here. So you can then just type in anything. So you can say, I'm going to say that Gabriel Jesus is my new Chelsea category, and that will come up and show, auto-populate all that through. So let's turn that back through to hot tip. And so what you've got here now is you've got all these different things, and you can categorize those players and then see how you're doing in your different styles. So I use this to assess what kind of trader I was. So whether I was a good PB trader or an MB trader, or whether I should be looking at transfer news or young players or people giving me tips on Twitter, all those different things. And I was categorizing all these players on what I'd purchased them for, and then seeing how my profit or loss was. Now, basically, to give you an idea, these categories, so star player would be, I'd say essentially it's your Neymar, your Lionel Messi, your Mo Salah, Hazard, that sort of type. So it's basically your guys who are MB and PB solid performers. Those are who you're looking at there. Your MB players, you're looking at your likes of your Paul Pogba. So I mean, I know he started to win the PB, so he might become more of a star player soon. But traditionally, Pogba has been very much a MB player. I would say at the moment, Ramsey is an MB player because people are hoping about his transfer speculation becoming a bit of an MB player. But this is where there's some crossover between the different things, because would you put Ramsey down as an MB player or a transfer prospect? It's open to your interpretation, but you can categorise however you want. And then, let's have a look who we've got in this list, because this is somebody else's that I'm just playing around with. KDB, people would probably argue that he's a PB player. So you could put KBB down as a PB player. And that would just show you there, so you can see you're doing really well out of MB players. And what this is doing is it's only looking at the change in price. It's not looking at the dividends. So the dividends have got their own little category here, so they're split out from everything else. These are just purely the changes in price for these types of player. So bit down on star player, bit down on PB for those 2 players, but way up on MB players, probably because Pogba's had a massive spike recently, and Pogba's in this data from quite a while ago what the purchase value was. So this can very quickly help you, particularly around things like transfers and young players, and quick flips, where you're trying to basically do it mainly around price rather than dividends. It gives you a very quick view on how well you're doing with those different players. And that's essentially it. So you just dump all that data in to the transaction history in here, check that things are lining up in the right way, so just comparing against what's already in there before you pull it across. Come into the summary tab, go over to the far right where you've got all of this data, and like I said, I'd filter on this P&L column here, and then you can just copy those names through into the Your Portfolio tab. You can add players into this Your Portfolio tab by just manually typing in the player's name, and you can delete players out if you want to as well, so you can just play around with it to your heart's content. But that's basically it. If you've got any questions, let me know, and hopefully that will be useful for you guys.